I come from a long line of firefighters, and I plan on being one too. But did you know the first woman firefighter was black? So, in celebration of African American History Month this February, we thought it would be most appropriate to look back and remember African Americans who have led the way in making American fire service history.
Do you know who's considered to be the very first female firefighter in U.S. history? Well, her name is Molly Williams. Known about her other than that she was an African American woman who was born a slave in New York City. Molly cooked and cleaned for the Oceanist Engine Company No. 11 in 1818. She was even responsible for cleaning the fire equipment and the hand-pull water pumps that they had as well. In 1818, there was a blizzard, and during that time, many of the volunteer firefighters became ill with the flu. Because Molly had spent so much time around the equipment, she knew how to fight fire. She knew how the equipment worked. She helped on a fire when there was a call for help during that time. And at that point, they knew that Molly could do this job. She became part of the volunteers answering the call for firefighters. She was known for her strength, her toughness, and her ability to help, as well as any of the men. The men of the Oceanist Engine Company said of Molly that she was as good a fire lady as any of the boys, and declared her volunteer number 11, which was an unofficial member. It's thanks to Molly Williams that women like Judith Livers became the nation's first female paid firefighter back in 1974 for the Arlington County Fire Department. And then 2 years later, in 1976, Toni McIntosh was the first African-American female career firefighter who was hired by Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania Fire Department. So you've learned a little bit about Molly and what she's done for women in the fire service. I have to say this is inspirational to me because she has broken ground where ground has never been broken before, and helped folks like me in my career, knowing that she has broken barriers, and that's why it's so motivational to me. And then what it's done for other female firefighters across the country. So what we do impacts so many other people in our lives, and that's what's really important.
Take a look at the history of black firefighters in New York City, specifically the fight to remember the 12 who died on 9/11. And the struggle for justice and equity for those who carry their legacy.
Of the 343 firefighters who tragically died on 9/11, 12 were black.
Leon Smith, great guy, always had a big smile on his face.
Captain Paul Washington knew them all.
Captain Vernon Richard. We studied together to become Florida captains.
Including Keith Maynard.
That was my friend. I miss Keith.
Washington and Maynard bonded as members of New York's Vulcan Society, an association of black firefighters focused on fighting racial discrimination and building racial equity in the department. The nation mourned together. Both Captain Washington and Kevin were struck by the lack of representation in the remembrances.
There was never an image of them throughout the whole deal in 9/11. There wasn't always a picture of him. There's one or two stories, but then it was just forgotten.
For Captain Washington, it was symbolic of a larger problem. People of color make up a majority of New York City's population, but the fire department remains overwhelmingly white.
When you're black on this job, it's just like being black in America. It's difficult. You got to fight to be treated fairly. You got to fight for them to change the policies that kept blacks off of this job for so long.
So Washington focused on the fire department's entrance exam.
There was no way you were going to get on the job in New York if you weren't prepared or if you wasn't exposed to the way the test was given and what to expect.
What was the stance of the city and the fire department?
I mean, we brought these issues to their attention, and they would just blow us off, basically, you know.
The Vulcans and the Department of Justice took their grievances to court, and in 2010, a federal judge ruled that the FDNY used the entrance exam to intentionally discriminate against black and Hispanic applicants, a practice with, quote, deep historical roots. Where are we at now in terms of the diversity of the department?
Well, the numbers have gone up. Blacks now, we're at about 8 or 9%.
Now a firefighter in Houston knows his brother would have been happy to see the changes the Vulcan Society has achieved.
And remember, Black history is American history.